This is my 1.5 years of querying update. Hi, if you don't know, I'm Jenna. I write science fiction and fantasy novels. I make YouTube videos all about writing and the creative process. And also, if you did not know, I have been querying for 1.5 years now. I actually did a live stream of me sending out my first ever query, so that was really exciting. I'm glad I documented that because holy shit, it's been downhill ever since. So it's been a little bit, so maybe a recap on what the hell Spaceborne is. It is my bulky ass, queer ass, science fiction novel. It's a space opera, it's a lot of trauma, it's very angry. It is also very good, I will say that, despite me not having much luck so far in the queer trenches. It is a good fucking book, and I'll tell you how I know in a little bit. So, let's give you guys a little bit of a recap. I definitely have a whole vlog of my querying process that is just sitting there as footage in my documents. However, due to the fact that I don't have an agent yet, I'm not going to share that with you. But because I was querying way longer than I planned to, I am going to share this video with you. I began my querying journey on May something, don't remember the day, of 2021. I did a live stream about it, and I was doing the classic approach of querying in batches, only about like 3 to 5 after I'd already heard back from agents from the previous batch. Let me tell you, that is the exact reason why I've been querying for 1.5 years now. That was the norm, and that was the advice before the pandemic, and even after the pandemic now. From what I have heard, the past about 1.5 years has been the worst time for querying ever. So that has definitely been a fucking downer. I was hoping since things were beginning to open back up that things would kind of return to normal querying wise. It is not. It is in a hellhole. Everything in publishing is in a hellhole. And of course that would be when I start querying, right? And that would be when I start doing it. So my current numbers, I had posted a thread on Twitter, which I will link down below a little bit ago, with all of my numbers. I don't like math, so I'm not going to bring it back up, especially because those numbers are no longer accurate. I have queried more people since then and gotten varying responses since. So that is not quite up to date, but I will leave it there so you can kind of get a gist of where I'm coming from. So, what has happened since I began querying? For starters, it's taken me 1.5 years because I was going again based off of the advice to query 3 to 5 agents max, and then wait for one to get back to you before you query the rest, and kind of go based off of who is going to get back to you sooner. Now, for the most part, this is still good advice. However, people are now taking longer than ever to get back to you. So agents that are the quickest to respond are typically either schmagents, so not real agents, or they just kind of don't actually read anything. And even then, quick responses now are usually 3 months, where they used to be like a couple weeks to a month. So the majority of my time in the query trenches has been either crying or waiting or revising. But Jenna, didn't you say in your last writing episode about Spaceborne that you were done touching the book? Yeah, I thought I fucking was. I said it on Twitter like 2 other times this past 1.5 years that I was done touching the book, and then I was right back in there again. Though sometimes I revise the book just to read the book again, because I miss the characters, because I'm fucking sad, pathetic, and lonely apparently. They were like my friends. I miss my friends, okay? I do the same thing with video games and other books by other people who wrote things, okay? They are my emotional support characters. And honestly, I feel like too, I said this in another video, but I feel like this book was my emotional support book. It got me through so much, and it was really hard to let it go, and I still would, if given permission to by an agent, jump right the fuck back in there like it was nothing. So I have around 17 agents left. However, this is not counting agencies that I may query other agents at, or agents that I might try to re-query. So the number honestly is kind of just up in the air. I've ran out of pages for tracking my writing in my querying journal, so that's probably a bad omen. What have you heard back from agents thus far? What has, you know, everything been like? The short of it is that it's been very confusing. During the first half of my querying journey, which I'll basically break up everything into this. There was the first half, there was the shitty middle, and then there was the second half, which I'm currently still in. The first half was like May until December of 2021. From that batch, I was actually feeling very hopeful for the book. I was getting a lot of personalized rejections when I did get rejections, and then I had 3 fulls out. Holy shit, 3 fulls all at once. And I was like, oh, this is it. I need to start getting ready to query the rest of my list. I need to just like throw it all out there before the holiday season. And it like starts in full swing at the end of December and everyone's gone for break. I need to, you know, like this is it. I'm only gonna be querying for like half a year. I'm gonna be done. Someone's gonna offer. I'm so glad I didn't query the rest of my list. I'm so glad. Basically what happened was that started December rolled around, I had 3 fulls out, and then I got 1 rejection on one day. And then the next day I got the 2nd rejection, and then a day later I got the 3rd rejection. So I got all 3 rejections on my fulls within days of each other at the start of the holiday season. And I was like, what the fuck? You all read my book around Thanksgiving, pumpkin pie and turkey, and we're like, nah, we don't want it. The advice I got from that, though, was also really informative. I got like an essay back. Was it like an essay of like why my book sucks? Slightly. There were some things that I, you know, most of it I agreed with. There were some things that I disagreed with from one of the agents who sent along a whole lot of details. The other one just seemed like, oh, it wasn't for them. I was like, okay. Vibe wasn't there, whatever. But I also was just having a mental breakdown because December was like the worst fucking thing in my life. I don't want to go too much into a tangent for it, but basically what happened was that I had 2 separate managers at my job back when I worked in retail who were definitely abusing their power and doing inappropriate behavior with employees and customers, myself included, and I wanted to fucking die. So So I very quickly yeeted myself out of that situation and got my new job, which I still have to this day. Much better, healthier environment. I get to work partially from home, go into the office twice a week, work with good people, I get paid more, so I am very happy in where I currently am. But my goodness, did that situation suck? So not only was a job that I had previously loved doing in retail, I actually like doing retail for once in my fucking life, holy shit, not for once in my life. I liked working at the bookstore that shall not be named too, but then also management there. So it was another retail job that I liked, right? And that I actually somewhat enjoyed doing. Payment could have been better, but honestly, in November, I was racking in big bucks for retail. And then December, of course, management sucked, stole my money, stole my pay, did other fucking shitty stuff. And so not only was I dealing with work toxic bullshit, the holidays approaching, and then also simultaneously getting all 3 of my rejections, or all 3 of my full manuscripts rejected, but it also happened like within days of each other, that I was just hit with one punch after another, and cue breakdown. Number like 1. I had been so confident in my book, I had been so confident in my materials, I was riding a high horse, and I got so swiftly knocked the fuck off of it. I was no longer confident in my work after that, I was no longer confident in my writing after that, and I was no longer confident in my place in the world after that. I was like, I always thought that this was going to be easier for me because I was that gifted kid who was always good at writing and always good at storytelling and was totally gonna be a New York Times bestseller one day. And I had always known, like, I'd always known like it's unrealistic to expect yourself to be the unicorn, but then actually putting it into practice is humbling. And like, it was like, I wasn't trying to put myself up on like a pedestal of like, oh, this is definitely gonna be easy for me. No, I was very, very nervous. In fact, the only reason I ever sent out my first query was because I had scheduled it for a live stream. I had said what day it was gonna be, and I forced myself to do it, which looking back, I probably should have probably not done that, since clearly my material still needed more work, but it did get me to at least do the damn thing, and then I needed to just learn along the way, as every writer does, which is why it's kind of rare for the first book that you query with to be the book that you get your agent with. But what can I say? I worked on Spaceborne for nearly 7 years. It'll be 7 years this January, and I wanted it so bad. So I get these 3 rejections, and then I'm like rethinking my entire life and also the book. This is when we hit that awkward middle part where I lose complete and utter confidence in my ability to tell the story, write, or do anything correctly. And so I went back to the book, revised based off of the advice that I got from the agent who gave me an entire essay, which I wholly did appreciate. I'm not going to ever shit on that editor or that agency in my life. They were fantastic, they were completely kind, but it did also simultaneously, because I'm a baby, felt like your book was good, but not good enough, and this is how it could be better. And that's just me, again, being a baby. So I took my time to cry, I took my time to revise, and that took several months of me getting rejections back, pulling queries when I could, and being very upsetty spaghetti. This was also a point in time where I, again, I've said this multiple times this whole year, I've been emotionally compromised. But I was on medication, funny enough, for acid reflux, which gave me such intense brain fog. I've talked to my doctor about it since then, and she said, oh, that's weird, that doesn't happen. But if you look on online forums about this medication, yes, it does. I digress. So I was trying to revise this book and had just started a new job with also intense brain fog, where I could basically do nothing except for get my basic tasks for the day done, like brushing my teeth and going to work, and then I was too brain fogged to do anything else, and I've still been recovering from that since. It was basically that, death in the family, recovering from the shitty job I was in, and then after that it was COVID, and then after that it was a cold, and now I'm finally getting back to being an alive person again. Literally been sick 55 days out of this year. And that's not counting all the brain fog. So that's, oh, and then I had a car accident and my car broke down 2 separate times. So, and now I have a pinched nerve in my back. We love 2022. Not what this video is about. Basically, I was just dealing with a lot of stuff and I could not focus on getting this book done. So it took me a long time to get this revision done. But I am very happy with the new direction of the book. Basically, it was just that the agents had said that book was great, but the ending plot twist was disappointing, which I knew was kind of an issue from the get-go. It had always been the same ending. It technically is still the same ending, but with a different plot twist, which kind of just shines a different light on everything that happens after that and happened before that. And of course, I put little sprinkles of hints about the new plot twist throughout the book. And I definitely like it better. I definitely think it caters more towards what I have planned for the rest of the books if I ever get to write the rest of the books in the series. And so I'm definitely very happy with the direction that this was inspired in me to do. Another one of the reasons that I will never shit on the agent or agency. They were wonderful. It was just, again, me being a baby. Mostly because I got all 3 of those rejections back to back to back. And I was very sad. So that whole thing happened. And then we've gone back to querying. I have since, to double check my work, because after that happened, I didn't believe anything I could write could ever be good. So I needed validation from outside sources. So I had friends, CPs, look over it. I also paid for a professional critique. I will link down below the person I used because they are fucking wonderful. Kat and Wright, I will, life changer. And so I paid for a critique on this, the synopsis, the query. I'd actually done the query critique last year, and then I just followed up with it by doing the synopsis and the first 2 chapter critique. Agreed with their advice. I thought their advice was wonderful, amazing, life-changing, all around good stuff. Once I paid for those, I sent as many nudges to agents as I could to tell them that I had updated material, or I pulled and resubmitted when I could. Really just depended on the method in which they received my query. And now, so far, I've always just been querying with that new material, sent that new material to agents who would accept it. And yeah, I'm currently sitting with 1 full out. I'm hoping that I get more. I only, again, have 17 agents, technically 17 agencies left, and I can always requery other agencies I've done in the past that still have more agents who are interested in my work. I was looking at my stats for all of the agents who I was really certain my manuscript wish list and my book matched up with theirs. We matched together. I thought for certain I was going to get a full request, and when I didn't, and I didn't get a personalized response either, almost every single time they had gotten my synopsis, and my synopsis was hot fucking garbage. I knew my synopsis was hot fucking garbage. I just didn't know how to fix it, and no one I knew how to fix it who I asked. So I just paid for it to get fixed, and now it's beautiful. But I'm fairly certain that it was a synopsis that made those people decline, and I may just go out of my way to re-query them with the better synopsis and query in first 3 chapters. If anyone tells you your synopsis does not matter, yes it fucking does. This was the advice I always got was, the synopsis doesn't matter too much. Most agents don't read it. Yes, they fucking do. Yes, they do. That's terrifying that I was so embarrassed afterwards. I was like, God, they probably declined because they actually read the synopsis. And I was told again and again that agents don't really read the synopsises. Pay attention to your synopsis. It should be good and 1 page. But I'm very excited with my 1 full out. It's a good, warm, fuzzy feeling. It's also giving me quite a bit of hope because one of the 3 agents who rejected me. Not me, the book. I have to keep reminding myself of that. They didn't reject me. They rejected the book that I poured my heart and soul into. Just breathe. Anyways, the agent who currently has had my full in the past back in December and was one of the 3 who rejected. So currently they have the story. I'm trying to keep my hopes up, keep hopeful that they can see that I listened, you know, to the advice I was given from another agent, and that the book is in a better shape, and that it is amazing, and that it's because of the advice I got from another agent, and that means I'm good at listening and I'd be good to work with. Please. So yes, currently have 1 full. Currently still have about 17 agencies to query. I queried a new one today who has a fast response rate, so I'm hoping to hear back from that soon. If I get 1 more full, I will go and query the rest of my list. That is my rule. That's what I'm saying, because it shows I'm doing something right. If you hear water in the background, it is Stephen showering. Pitch contests. I have a love-hate relationship with pitch contests now. Almost every single time that I've done a pitch contest, I have gotten a response from agents, and some wonderful agents, some, you know, on the totem pole of success for agents, some really up high there. But for the most part, it is either turned into just a form rejection, or it has turned into a full request with a personalized rejection, which I appreciate a whole lot more. Or even at times just a rejection based off material that comes with personalized advice. So I have a love-hate relationship with them now, because either I get some sort of response or no response, which I find weird. And yeah, it kind of just shows me too that it's like, okay, well, I've paid for my materials to be good. The editor, who is an ex-agent, who has a ton of credentials, who's amazing, has said that my stuff is good. I've gotten compliments from agents who even rejected me on my writing being good, and the story idea being good, and my prose being wonderful, and the concept being awesome, and yet, here I am, with no agent. And like, it sucks too, because I get all, you know, all this attention during pitch contests of people like, oh my god, I love these comps, I love the concept, I love, you know, blah 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 blah, and then still nothing. I think honestly it's just a sign of the current times we're in. I honestly wholeheartedly believe that if I had been querying this book in, you know, a couple of years ago, it would have been in a worse state, because it wouldn't be to the caliber and the quality that it is right now. But back then it would have gotten me an agent, and now it's not, because the standards are just raised so high that it's just not reaching for a lot of agents. And I don't think it's because of my writing. I don't think it's because of the market necessarily. I think it's just because they have to be so selective, and unfortunately the way that publishers see it is that sci-fi is a hard sell. So if they're not 100% in thinking that they can sell this book, then they just don't even bother with it. And I think the honest truth of it is that it sucks, because I could have published a worse version of this book years ago at that rate. It could be coming out any day now if I had gotten an agent way back when with a worse version of this book. And that hurts my heart. Because it's like, well, I did so much work on it, and now it kind of is just mute and void, because now the standards have changed, and the things I was taught on how to query are no longer relevant. And now the world is just completely different, and it feels very unfair. But at the same time, when has anything in life ever been fair, let alone publishing? So what am I doing now? I am currently waiting to see if I get a full from the agent I queried today. They usually respond within like a week, so I'm hoping to hear back very soon. If I do get a full on this, then I'll be querying the rest of my list. If not, I'll be doing another half of my 17 batch. So either way, I'll only have like 2 more batches to do max for the rest of the agents on my list. My plan is, regardless, I'm going to be finishing querying Spaceborne by the end of the year. Whether or not I get an agent or not, or if I still have fulls out, or if I, you know, still have agents who haven't responded by the new year, I want my part of it to be done. Because I'm not going to stretch this to 2 years. I don't have the mental capacity for that. I also just want to get all of them in before agents start to close for the holidays, and also because people with NaNoWriMo novels who didn't edit them also like to throw their manuscripts into the gray trenches, which is rude to everyone who actually did edit their novel. So what are my plans with Spaceborne specifically? My hope is to still get an agent with it, and hopefully one day, if I don't get an agent with it right now, to get an agent in the future and still bring Spaceborne up to them. However, I predominantly actually write fantasy, so it's very possible that if Spaceborne doesn't get me an agent, I will be getting an agent in the future who only reps fantasy and does not touch sci-fi or space operas. If something like that were the case, or if, let's just say, I never get an agent, then I would be self-publishing it. However, there's still so much I want to try and do with traditional publishing, even though it's kind of in a hot mess state right now. We can do a whole video talking about that. It's a disaster. But I'm hoping it has a way to turn itself around and that things start working out for Spaceborne and for the publishing industry as a whole. So I'm not willing to let go of the idea of traditional publishing in general, and specifically not traditional publishing Spaceborne. I'm still very hopeful because I think it would do really well in the traditional space, but I don't think it would do well in the self-publishing space. But am I open to self-publishing in general? Yes, I am. I definitely think it's more financially possible for me at this point in my life, and I'm definitely more in a stable environment where I can put in the effort for something like that, where I'm the only person on a team, whereas previously it wouldn't have ever been a thought for me and would not have ever been possible. Will that ever happen to Spaceborne? Who knows? Or will it be traditionally published? Who knows? Will I get an agent or not? Who knows? This is not my end of querying journey video. This is my, after a year and a half, this is where I currently am at. So what do I think of my writing and Spaceborne after this long year and a half long journey? I think the book is as best as it has ever been. The quality of my writing has improved drastically, even from when I had queried it in May of 2021. My writing, the story in general, the writing within the story, the plot twist at the end, just the plot in general, the setup for the, potential next books, everything in it is how I'm happy with it. It was always in my mind like, oh, if I only had, an extra 10,000 words, I could make the story so much better. And sure, there are a couple more scenes that I wish I could sneak in there, but for the most part, I think they could easily just be bonus content on my website or something like that. I don't feel like the story needs them. And it's in a place right now where I am not just content with the story, but I'm actually very happy with it. And that can only have come from getting rejections like I did. It could only have come from me taking the time to do the revising while also having brain fog, so that I really had to distance myself from the book to be able to see it objectively. Do I think my book is good? Do I think my writing is good? Yes to both. I went through a point where I was doubting my ability, the fact that I was even a writer, and everything like that, and I had to go through all of that to come out far more stronger and far more confident in my writing and knowing of my ability. And for that I'm grateful, but I'd be more grateful with an agent. But I'll leave you guys there. If you want to learn more about what I am writing now that Spaceborne is deep in the trenches, make sure to click the video right there all about my Viking fantasy whip. But I'll catch you guys next time, so bye!